morning. So I am delighted to be talking to Steve Masters. Steve is someone I've known for several years now, and his day job is now a West Berkshire councillor, and you also are very involved, chairman of the Eight Bells charity in Newbury. And Steve normally lives in Kintbury, but you are somewhere completely different right now, Steve. Please tell us all about it, where you are and what you're doing.
Right. Thank you, Penny. It's nice to see you. Yeah, normally I live on, I spend a lot of my time on the Kent and Avon, between Newbury and Hungerford, on a narrowboat, which is quite unusual in itself. But at the moment, and for the last week or so, I'm living in a wood just by Wendover near Great Missenden, and the last four nights I've spent in the tree house, and I'm here to protect the trees in a place called Jones Hill Wood, which was part of the inspiration for Roald Dahl's fantastic Mr. Fox.
Okay, and this is an HS2 threat.
They're going to build a huge viaduct across the valley.
And have you been planning this for a while? Is this something that you've been wanting to do for a while, or was this a spontaneous decision?
So I've been aware of the HS2 campaign. I've been quite vocal on social media about it, and it's it's Green Party policy that we think it's a big white elephant, and we should be reinvesting in our existing infrastructure around the country. But I was on a walk to highlight the impact of HS2. So last week I started walking from just near Leamington Spa with the intention of walking to Houston over 5 days. And I joined them near Leamington Spa. And then I got to Jones Hill Wood on the third or fourth night, having walked 60 miles in 3 days. And I have a little bit of a local connection, which I'll mention in a minute, but I got here and the wood just kind of struck me as, this is something that needs to be protected. And I knew one or two of the people here from previous activisms, activities. And so I decided to stay. So I stayed a couple of 2 or 3 nights and then popped back to Newbury to the boat, and collected some more kit and came back on Monday and moved into one of the tree houses. And so although the actual decision was spontaneous in that moment, it's something that I was planning on doing at some point because of the impact that HS2 is having. So, I fell in love with this wood when I got here. It's absolutely beautiful. There's a tranquility about it. There's lots of wildlife. There's badgers, various species of bat, and it's wondrous. So here I am.
Gosh, so you're in a is it a beech tree that you're in at the moment?
Yes, I'm in a beech tree. It's well over 100 years old, as is most of the wood. I'm about 55 feet above the ground.
Could you show us could you flip your phone so we can see the view?
So this is the view out in front of me now.
Blimey, you're quite high up.
Hope none of your viewers have vertigo.
Blimey.
Yeah. And this is out the back of the tree house.
Gosh.
And this is out the side.
But it looks like a well-constructed tree house. I mean, it's very substantial. You feel very safe up there, presumably.
Yes, absolutely. It's been built over the last 3 or 4 months by people who are very experienced and have protected woodlands before. It's very substantial. But nonetheless, while ever I'm up here, I'm always secured to my harness.
Okay. Yeah.
And around the tree.
Yeah. Have you had experience climbing before? I mean,
I've done a little bit of recreational indoor climbing once or twice in in the distant past, and that's been one of the biggest challenges. Climbing up a rope 60 foot 2 or 3 times a day, and last thing at night, because at the moment the imminent threat is not quite here, so we have to prepare, and we're building our defences, if you like, and but climbing up a rope in free space, if you like, so I'm having to lift my body up probably 20, 30 times with the process. That's quite strenuous. So my arms are quite tired. Sleeping reasonably well for 5 or 6 hours, which is not too bad, given that the dawn chorus starts about 4ish. And
gosh.
So, but that in itself is a privilege. I mean, I'm no ornithologist. I can't recognise birdsong that well, but it is, it's a beautiful thing to hear, as you know.
So we're talking about a threat not just to the trees, obviously, but for all the wildlife who call this home, this wood.
Yes, the impact on the biodiversity. I would, across the whole project is probably incalculable. Anyway, so HS2 say they're mitigating, and it's the greenest engineering project in the world. They're planting twice as many trees as they're destroying, but they're not replacing like for like. You can't
replace a 100-year-old tree.
No, exactly. And so the farm we're adjacent to, which is the Bunce farm, you'll see on the map, the Bunce farm, one of the farmers in the book, he's going to lose one of his barley fields, which is adjacent to the wood, in the next few weeks and months, and they're going to plant saplings, and then they'll hand him back the field, and he has to maintain and manage them, and that's their mitigation. So it puts a burden on him as a farmer. He's got no financial stake in it. And many of the saplings that have already been planted along the way in mitigation have died. Some people say half of them have died. They say they're going to plant twice as many as they remove in terms of trees, but there's no mention of mitigation about hedgerows. Hedgerows are the superhighways, the natural superhighways, how animals and insects and birds, they move around when they're not in open country. So there's no mention about replacing hedgerows, and mature hedgerows take decades, if not centuries, to mature. And they're a massive reservoir, oasis, call it what you like, of biodiversity. Some of the protectors here are doing surveys, so they walk down the local lanes, some of which are very narrow and ancient in their own right. They're sunken lanes, much like Leaf Hill, where I was a protector a few years ago. It's the very fabric of the countryside. So they're monitoring bumblebees, birds that are around. I was sat at the edge of the wood yesterday afternoon in a spell of bright sunshine, and I had a wren sit 3 feet away from me. And and you do get that kind of sense that as we've seen in the lockdown, nature seems willing to recover. Doesn't you see it because it's not necessarily scared of it seems to be we've reconnected a little bit in this shutdown, and I hope that's what people take from this. And I would encourage anybody to come. The postcode is HP22 6PT. If you look on the groups, Save Roald Dahl Woods on Facebook, there's an artist drawn map of how to get here and where to park. And it's a 5-minute walk from the back of the farm. And yeah, it's such a beautiful place where you can, reconnect. So I would say to people, sitting in a tree and staying in a tree is not for everybody, but we would really like people to come down, for a day, help with, some of the.
So people who don't want to come up a tree can camp on the ground.
Absolutely. Yeah, come and camp for a night or two, and just get stuck in, and as much as anything, just reconnect. Because I think if people come and see what is being lost, aside from the literary connection, just the wonder of nature. It's yeah.
So
you spend a lot of your time in the outdoors anyway, Penny. So I think I'm preaching to the converted.
Well,
you, but,
not as much as I would like, to be honest. So what are the protectors realistically hoping to achieve by this? I mean, I know there's Chris Packham's got a judicial review next week planned. So he's contesting the environmental impact studies that weren't sufficient. Is that right?
Yeah. So he's challenging the preparatory work and and the mitigation that HS2 Limited are saying, and the government saying that's been done. So he's challenging that in the High Court. I think the Court of Appeal this time. And so that's the legal vanguard, and that's and he spoke about that in his clip of solidarity that he did for us a couple of days ago. He's doing that through the legal system, but where the protectors here, of which I'm newly one, have been doing this for months. Not just here, there's various sites along the route, coming out of London, all the way from Houston, and further up towards Coventry. And the protectors, it's threefold. Yes, we want to stop HS2 in its tracks, quite literally. That will only be done by sheer volume of numbers of people getting involved. And
so they would have to the idea is that they're going to have to physically remove you before they can take the trees down. Okay. So you are putting yourself at some physical risk. Yeah.
But it's about delaying. The longer it goes on, and the more people we can inform about the expense in terms of pure cash, but also the expense in biodiversity and the loss of green space. So that's one of the things, and that's one of the reasons why I'm here. As a public elected official, we've already had more interest from the media with my presence, and that can only be a positive for the campaign here, and with people like Chris Packham, on the campaign as a whole. So it's about stopping it. It's about delaying it long enough for people to know, and it's also about impacting them financially. Now we talk about how much HS2's cost. Current forecast 106, 108 billion, which I don't think people in an abstract sense really grasp. 106. That's a big number, but 106 billion. How many times more is that? So it's a huge amount of money that could be put to use elsewhere. For one, and so my wish, and the wish of many people, is that that kind of money would be used in the NHS potentially to revitalise and reinvest in the current rail network. And so that could be used more wisely. So yeah, it's a numbers game across in terms of the protectors. The protectors I'm here with now, they've been in this location since February, so they've been working towards because you can't just turn up and stop it. You have to occupy the space, which is what the tree houses are, and it's about costing them money. They've already spent 16 million plus clearing protectors from sites along HS2 already.
Okay.
And that ordinarily that would be a huge amount of money. but it's a fraction. It's like 0.2% or something, or maybe 0.2% of the overall budget. And the budget looks set to rise because, you know, it spiraled from 30 billion initially to 106 plus now. And there is talk that that's still, you know, there's still potential for them to even as much as double over the lifetime of the project construction. And it's not going to be ready till, you know, way past 2030, for example, you know, heading towards 2040, probably for the more northern stretches.
Blimey.
And it's not going to be carbon neutral for 120 years, which makes a mockery of the government's long target of 2050 for carbon neutrality. So, you know, if you had to define what a white elephant was in engineering and civil engineering terms, you know, HS2 would be, you know.
And now in the current climate, especially more, the fact that virtual meetings, as we're having right now, means that the need for travel has obviously changed since the whole scheme was proposed. My worry is that so much money has been invested in it already, it's going to be really hard for them to pull it politically.
Yeah, that is a concern, but I think you know, there's pressure mounting in the House of Commons. We've had feedback from a number of MPs, local and not so local, but along the rest of the route, and you know, and there is a lot of disquiet because, you know, there's a lot of businesses that are going to go under and, you know, and be, you know, erased. We stopped on the walk. We stopped at an equestrian centre where, you know, they train riders and horses to do, you know, all the jumps, you know, like you see on badminton, you know, the cross country circuits. And we camped in the middle of a cross country training circuit. And I have a little wasp or something coming around, so I'm right up there. And you know, and these are very affluent, middle class, probably traditionally conservative voting members of the public. And I think, you know, the danger is that, you know, that with this project that they're set to alienate a large portion of their voter base, the Conservatives. So as you can see, I've got a wasp.
So what is the Protector's relationship with the local community, the people who actually live around Jones Hill Wood?
It's a very good relationship. We get a lot of support, and you know, and I think that, you know, with one of the local farms that's going to be evicted, you know, very soon, you know, that they know exactly what we're trying to do and what we're trying to achieve. And broadly support it. You know, people are losing livelihoods. Before we came on, I was talking to you about, you know, the health impacts. You know, virtually, I think I've spoke to probably 6 or 7 different farmers along the route down from where I joined the walk at Leamington Spa, and either the farmer himself or members of his family have had heart attacks, you know, in the last, you know, few years due to the stress. You know. And I do feel that there's a public health issue, you know, in terms of physical and mental and emotional health, you know, for people who are losing their businesses and, you know, their farms. You know, some of the farms around here, you know, a 3rd and 4th generation farming families, and, you know, it's all they know, and, you know, and they have a very intimate relationship with the land that they look after and manage. And, you know, if they lose that, you know, it's like somebody coming out of the military. You know, you take something away that has been the core of your existence, and that has a massive effect, you know, not least the fact that farmers are losing their homes.
Well, you can buy a new house, but how can you replace a farm? I mean, that's your job, you know.
Absolutely. I spoke to one farmer on the way down. He farms 500 acres. The line runs right through the middle. He's losing 200 acres of it, and that leaves him 2 triangular 150-acre portions. And he says, you know, then they become no longer economically viable.
Well, if there's a blooming great train track, how's he going to get from one side to the other
Yeah, exactly. There'll be road, there'll be bridges and that, but they're not going to be ready, and it is just not very economic.
Blimey. And so presumably there are compensation packages for these people, but it doesn't sound like anything would really do it.
Yeah, from what we can gather, the compensation is not paid immediately. There's lots of conditions. There's probably, because nobody will speak, there's probably gagging orders that restrict. So it's an added pressure and an added complication that the people who are impacted, the people who are most directly impacted, can't speak out publicly for fear of losing what.
So they're withholding the compensation, blimey, to keep them quiet.
So it's an ugly business, in every sense, from the damage that it's going to do to the environment, right up to how it's impacting people.
So you are obviously juggling a lot of responsibilities at the moment. You're here following your passion and your heart, but you're also having to stay functioning with your life in Newbury. How are you managing that?
Thankfully it's one of the upsides to COVID is this emergence of Zoom meetings and remote working. So that's pretty good. I mean, I brought my laptop. I have it protected. I have it in an armored case when I'm not using it. I check in on my emails each day. I've done several meetings, and ironically, I've had better internet connections than some of the other councillors in those meetings. So that's quite good. And the support from fellow councillors and the officers has been very positive. I've had lots of messages of encouragement, both in the meetings and offline, afterwards. So it's really good.
Has that been across the board, that support?
I've had Conservative members asking me what I'm doing, asking me to send pictures of where I am, so they can get a little bit more. I haven't necessarily done the tour of the tree house when I've been in a meeting. So what I've said is the best thing to do is look at my Facebook feed, which is open and public, or my Twitter feed. So there are one or two naysayers who are probably sniping, but I don't worry too much about.
No, I mean
what individuals think.
My feeling about it is that even realistically, you guys aren't going to stop HS2. I mean, I think Chris Packham might have a chance in Parliament, but you were saying that the cumulative effect of protectors creates a security issue for the contractors, and that might limit the amount of development they're able to do. Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, as the costs grow anyway, there's surely got to be a point where it becomes totally economically unviable, and one way of increasing that pressure is by increasing the security costs, so now what the campaign needs is more people on the ground, obviously, and people in the trees. So we need people to get behind the campaign. So if you search, if people were to search on Google, and other search engines are available, or social media for Stop HS2, you'll find lots and lots of information and resources. And I would say the first thing people need to do is educate themselves, read about what the project is, what the project's doing, and there's lots of information about the environmental and financial impact on the country. A point where we should be planting and renewing our efforts to to plant tree cover,
Mm.
there's no sense in chopping down mature ancient woodland such as Jonesville Wood.
Yeah, and what you were saying before, replacing 100 of years old wood with saplings is just not like for like at all. And
no, exactly. And it's not just the trees. It's the ground cover. I'll just switch you onto the camera now. If you look down there, there's holly bushes. There's hawthorn and other bushes and shrubs that make up the floor of the wood. And that's where the birds and the animals congregate on the ground, and the insects. There's cherry trees in here. We have bowls of cherries, with our dinner of an evening. It's such a complex, ecosystem. You can't replace that with a barley field that's, where you just plant a load of saplings.
Yeah. No, it takes generations. My one way of looking at it perhaps is a bit like, if you're going to eat meat, you should take responsibility for how that meat has ended up on your plate, and how that animal has lived and how it was killed. And so my feeling was something like HS2, even if we thought it was the most fantastic project in the world, which I don't know anybody who does, but even if it was, we need to take responsibility for what's been destroyed to make it happen, and what's being lost. So
definitely,
I think to show a spotlight on what destruction is happening is an end into itself.
I'm just going to put you in on my headphones because I had a call come in and the audio was lost. Are you still there?
Yeah,
that's better. I can. The audio dipped off. I had to bin a call that came in and it knocked the audio down.
Okay. Well, Steve, I think probably life, you've got a busy life up there. You've got responsibilities you need to fulfill. And so just as a reminder, if anybody's got any climbing gear they would like to donate, so harnesses, ropes, carabiners. I'm planning to come and visit you next week, so anybody watching this would like to donate some stuff, I'm happy to bring it to you. And anybody's welcome to come and visit for a night or two. They just need to bring their own tent and their own provisions, self-sufficient.
Yeah, try and be self-sufficient, and come along, come with an open mind, be respectful of the countryside, of the woodland that will welcome you. Can you hear the wind, can you? The wind has just got up.
Yeah, do you feel the trees, does it sway?
It does a little bit, yeah. But it's not, being a boater, it's not, not too bad. So one of the hardest things that stops you sleeping, I thought it would be really awkward sleeping in a harness and connected to the tree. That's actually relatively easy as long as you take off all the spare carabiners and everything else. So when it's stormy, which it has been a couple of nights, I've slept in the harness. But we have edible dormice, which I don't know if many people know what they are. They're not cute little mice; they're cute little squirrels. But they're not very cute at 4 a.m. when they're scurrying about on the roof between the two tarpaulins. So when the dawn chorus goes up, they become particularly active as the sun comes up. So I've been woken at 4:00, 4:30 most mornings. So I did shout at them this morning to go away.
You're in their space, Steve.
I know, and yeah. Although they're a non-native species, and I spoke to the bee bout about them, and yeah, they're actually considered a pest.
Mm,
So
mm, mm.
I've yet to see one in person. All
Oh,
I see is shadows.
well, maybe you can have a siesta in after lunch if you have these really short nights, early mornings, and it must be beautiful though to
Yeah.
be up that early. Lovely.
Yes, it is. It's quite stunning.
It's great,
So
Steve. Well, listen, best of luck. I will see you soon, and
yeah,
just shout if there's anything else we can do to help.
no, that would be wonderful. Thank you very much for helping getting the message out.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, Penny. Say hi. Oh, how's Adam doing?
He's okay. I'll stop recording now.